So Watcher is a channel that covers horror, food, travel, stuff like that. Recently chose to pull off a very confusing and controversial move. And that is that they're making a streaming service. But it's how they're going about it and their reasoning that doesn't make any sense. And based on your stance and some of their actions, they are either legally negligent or they're just ignoring international laws, as well as what I feel is a general disregard for their subscribers and Patreons, stuff like that. But there's a good bit to go over, so for everything to make sense, I'm just going to give like a quick 20-second background recap of everything, right? Right, BuzzFeed, you probably remember them from these gems. If you're not familiar, you're not missing much. Well, a lot of these companies keep having this issue where they get a presenter, the presenter builds up an audience, and the presenter dips out, making the same content but keeping all the money. This is very common. Some good examples are Sophia Nygaard, the Try Guys, and obviously the people who made Watched. So on BuzzFeed, they were doing stuff like unsolved true crime and cheap versus expensive food, but they felt limited in, what they could do, what they could make, how they could express themselves. So they chose to go on their own way, make the content that they believe in that truly represents them, what they want to make, which is true crime and cheap versus expensive food. So they basically do the same, similar type of content, and their channel's doing well. They were successful, they made good content, they built up a massive audience. They set up a Patreon, which is very successful, and assuming everybody's on the lowest tier, that gives you like a floor of 62,000 a year, 62,000 a month. You look at their views, you give them kind of like a low-end RPM, that's about 60k a month. Again, I checked a couple of their videos, they all got sponsorships, or most of them did. So it's also going to be pretty decent money, nothing wrong with that. You should be able to make good money if you make good content. In their Goodbye YouTube video, they basically said that they'll be moving new productions of their shows to their streaming website.
In terms of where this company is going and where I believe that we can be the most successful, YouTube is no longer the place for that.
And every now and then they might post a trailer or a premiere of one of their shows on the channel. So, basically they're giving up on it. And this isn't like Nebula, where the creators still make videos for YouTube and then put up extra content on Nebula. These guys are effectively planning to abandon their channel.
You'll still occasionally see us on YouTube. We're gonna post trailers for our shows there. We're gonna have the season premieres of all of our series on there. But if you wanna watch the full seasons of all of our content, the streamer will be the exclusive home for all of that starting May 31st.
Boom, recap done. So now we can hop into the controversial and questionable stuff. Right, so I'll start off, I'll just go to their, streaming website, and this is one of the worst parts. So this might seem like nitpicking, but this is everywhere across the website, and this is just to give you a general idea of the quality of the website. The create account page doesn't actually say it creates an account, it just says it starts a subscription, which is a bit weird, but whatever, weird design. So you made your account, you want to log in, and the payment detail thing is still there. I think it shouldn't be there, and it really should be a quick, easy fix. The start subscription button is still there, but does it work? I'm not willing to, put my money where my mouth is. I'm not gonna poke it. But it just feels like really bad design, unless they want you to be able to buy 30 subscriptions. I really don't have a clue. Okay, next thing, let's move on to the cookies. And I know this is everybody's favorite part, but cookies are actually very tricky for websites because basically you have to be able to comply with a lot of laws. There's a lot of nuance. It's very complicated. So let's see how these guys handle it. So for context, in Europe, it is a opt-in system for cookies. That means you have to let them collect your data before anything can be collected. And if you do nothing, they can't collect or use any of that data. Pretty cool in my opinion. So what do they use here? And it's an opt-out cookie system. Even worse, they know they're non-compliant in Europe and they put it on you to opt out. So, basically illegal. But the worst part is they acknowledge it's wrong for Europe. So this is just real legal negligence coming from there, and they just couldn't be bothered to do it. If you're not going to have the necessary systems in place, just play dumb, pretend you don't know it. If anything happens, you can be like, oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm just a simple YouTuber. I don't know all that fancy internet stuff. Boom, it's not an excuse to not have it, but you might get off better than, oh, we know we're doing it wrong and we don't care. I don't know. That's my opinion. So another thing I did is I hopped onto a VPN, kind of changed a couple of countries around, rich, poor countries, and they don't seem to be using geo-pricing. So geo-pricing is when companies charge a lower price to people in countries where people earn less. Great example is Spotify. Obviously, a person in Tunisia is going to be making less money than somebody in the UK. So, based on their audience, depending on how many of them are from middle to lower income countries, they might not be able to afford it at all, which kind of seems a bit rude to just kind of thanks for building us up, but get lost to your, worse off, poorer audience. Kind of seems a bit rude, but it's their choice. The other thing I saw is they use dollar pricing everywhere, which is one of those inconvenient things for people that don't pay in dollar. So what most other businesses do is they set up a payment system that can accept multiple currencies, and then they just convert whatever they have to dollars whenever it's convenient for them. This is so this is so users don't get hit with like weird currency conversion fees when paying with cards, and it makes for a better user experience. Imagine if you're shopping on Temu and you had to pay in yuan, it's very inconvenient. And if they want the most users possible, it's actually a very easy fix to make it more accessible to others. But checking out their Lighthouse score, which that's a built-in evaluation tool, it looks like accessibility isn't their top concern. It's not a terrible score, but it's generally 90 to 100 considered good. And accessibility is generally like, what if you're blind? Can a screen reader use it? What if you're colorblind? Stuff like that, And this makes me think what other shortfalls might be there, like it's your email, data, payment details, stuff like that. It's your call. Also, if you take a look at the terms and conditions, there is a term that signs your rights away to sue them if they mess up. So yeah. Literally my last video on why that's bad. And this part is what I see as the cherry on top, Patreon. So the starting subscription for their service is $6. The lowest tier is $5. So if the bottom tier kind of gave you like a subscription, that would be really cool. Maybe not a subscription, maybe a free trial to show thanks for their supporters, right? Nah, why would you even think that? In fact, all that gets you is access to their podcast and the bloopers. So you can pay them to make a show you won't be able to watch at all. But you can watch the bloopers from it. Also, they have a tier for $100 a month, which is like $1,200 a year, which just lets you buy their merch. Not free merch, they're not sending you free merch because you chose such a high subscription tier. It's like you only get the option to buy it. And looking at their merch store, it's about 40-50 euros for a shirt. So no clue how much like a once-off temporary exclusive super supporter shirt would be. Like, this really seems like they botched the entire situation. And they also said in their video they plan to bring in their BuzzFeed friends.
The advent of this streamer has allowed me to bring the gang back together.
That's true.
Adam,
your pals.
Andrew, the old friends from Worth It.
And make content that isn't popular or even that viable.
There are a lot of shows that maybe didn't do phenomenally on YouTube.
Yeah.
That would be performing perfectly fine on a streamer.
So, pay us to make stuff you don't want to watch, you won't watch, so we can hire our friends. Anyway, hope that fills you in, and adios.